Hats off to entrepreneurs. You bring value to our community by creating jobs and building wealth. Aspire Enterprise of Florida is your premier one-stop resource for strategic business coaching, business trainings, and business services. Our elite team of business professionals have over 30 years of expertise to serve small business owners, not-for-profit organizations, and individuals. Aspire Enterprise, where your needs are our priority.
How we doing?
Good.
Welcome to Palm Bay Live. Our stream kind of changed up, but here we go. Welcome to Palm Bay Live. It's another primetime interview, and tonight we have with us Donna, Goerner, and Marc. They're both running for seat, well, not a seat, but a Circuit Court 18, Group 21, and they're running for judge, and they're here with us live tonight. So thank you for joining us out in the listening audience and watching or viewing audience. And I know there's a lot of folks here tonight watching, and we're going to start off with both candidates. We would like them to give us a background of who they are and why they're running, and some personality questions. So let's start off with Miss Donna. Ladies first, they say. So go ahead.
Thank you very much for the invitation this evening. My name is Donna Goerner. I am a Florida native. I came down here after graduating from law school at the University of Florida, and I made Seminole County my home, and it's been my home since 1995. I started my career out as a prosecutor in Seminole County, and I was a prosecutor for about 12 years. I opened my office, my private practice in Altamont Springs in 2007, and I have been serving Central Florida citizens and members of our community all across the I-4 corridor and up and down the East Coast ever since.
Okay, awesome.
You also asked why I was running for judge.
Yes,
I will tell you, I've spent roughly about half of my career doing plaintiffs and prosecutors work, and the other half of my career doing defense work. And I always feel like I'm stuck in the middle. The big difference between being an advocate for one side or the other is that judges are stuck in the middle. And I feel like I'm uniquely qualified and uniquely suited to be a judge because of having so much experience on both sides of the courtroom. I'm able to see a case from both sides. I'm able to comprehend a case from both sides. And I believe I'm able to decipher what's important, listen carefully to the litigants in the courtroom. And I know that that's what people and parties in the courtroom want. They want a judge who will be empathetic to both sides, who will listen to the case, the evidence, who will read case law and statute, and who will render timely rulings in their case and proper legal rulings in their case. And I feel like my years of experience and my courtroom experience places me in a quite a unique position to do that.
Awesome. Marc?
Yes, thank you. Marc Jones. I am a lifelong resident of Seminole County. For a little over 45 years, I've called Seminole home. My background, I am very fortunate to have come from a mixed ethnic family. My mother was the sweetest little human lady you've ever met. And my father, a successful panhandle guy himself. My mother was a school teacher in the Seminole County public school systems for over 40 years. She instilled in me a love of reading and knowledge. My father was a local attorney and a community leader here, and he instilled in me a work ethic and how important it is to respect others and demand respect yourself. I'm a product of the Seminole County school system myself. I graduated from Oviedo High School, went on to the University of Central Florida and got my degree in communications. And then I went out into the world, and I had an opportunity to get into a real estate firm. And I got working in real estate with a local developer, and the experience that I gained in the private sector was incredible. On a daily basis, I was working with engineers and city leaders and loan officers, and all this experience, got me to understand how businesses work, both small business and corporations. And while I was in that process, I met up with some real estate attorneys, and I was just fascinated by their area of practice, because I grew up with a litigator as a father, and it was something I just didn't want to do. That's why I didn't get into the law practice initially. And I saw these real estate guys who showed up in blue jeans and a sport coat. I'm like, man, I could do that. So I went to law school, and it was a plan B for me at first. And then, as we all remember what happened in the 2006 to 2008 timeframe, the real estate market exploded, and I started practicing law. And I went right into a litigation firm, and I followed my father's footsteps. And it turns out I've got a knack for it. And I've been a pretty successful litigator in civil litigation. And I've got a very broad legal practice. I've done just about every kind of practice, from civil litigation to commercial complex business litigation to civil rights matters. So I got a very broad legal background and a lot of real life experience that I think would be beneficial. And I'll transition into why I think I want to be a judge. I was inspired into becoming a judge. Never something 5 years ago, if you'd asked me, it wasn't on my radar. But I was sitting at a bar luncheon one day, and the guest speaker was Chief Justice Labarga. And he was giving a speech, an update on the court systems in Florida and where we were financially. And he stopped in the middle of his speech, and he basically made a call to the audience and said, what we really need, we've got aging judges that are transitioning out, and we need experienced civil litigators to sit on the bench. We need people that understand business, that have had a business and have signed the front and back of a check. Those are the type of people that we need to come sit on the bench, because we're in need of that. And it just struck me. And I'm answering that call, and I want to do it in the community that I've lived my whole life in. I want to serve the citizens of Seminole County.
Okay, awesome. So, Ms. Donna, give us a background on what the seat you're filling. You guys are trying to fill. Who are you replacing? And tell us a little bit more about that group, 18th Circuit.
We are replacing it. The seat is Group 21. It is currently held by Judge Kenneth Lester, and currently that division is he's presiding over juvenile cases. Just by way of general broad background, in the 18th Circuit, there are 4 criminal judges that preside over criminal cases. There are 2 judges that preside over juvenile, and the juvenile division handles juvenile cases, probate cases, guardianship, and mental health cases. And juvenile, by juvenile, I mean juvenile delinquency and juvenile dependency. So that is the seat that Judge Lester currently holds. And then there are also 4 civil divisions, and the division is called civil family. So the 4 civil divisions are judges that split civil cases and family cases. So just by way of background, that's how the Seminole County Circuit Court judge system is laid out.
Okay, awesome. Going back to your personal experiences, let's talk about that one moment. And I think you guys mentioned it, but let's capture that one moment when you decided, I want to be a judge. Let's wrap that up in a bow. What was that one moment? Let's start with Marc.
Well, I touched on it. It wasn't just one moment. It was of course the time that got me to say, okay, I'm going to do this. And really, I had colleagues in the legal field and friends kind of poke me into it. Man, you'd be good at this. You've got the right temperament. You've got incredible experience, and we think you'd be good at it. And then hearing Justice Labarga, like he was speaking to me, that's when the light bulb went off, and I started doing what I felt was necessary to get myself in a position to do this.
Awesome. Ms. Donna?
Thank you. The one moment for me actually occurred back in 2013 when I decided to run. I ran back in 2014 and was unsuccessful in my campaign, but I ran back then for pretty much the same reasons I'm running now. I saw some things in the legal system, in the court system, that I felt like we needed certain judges on the bench to handle. In particular, I would say that I was inspired to run by people like Marc, who said, hey, you'd be a great judge. You'd make a great judge. We need people like you on the bench. You would be fair. And I know you'd be fair because I've seen you on both sides of the courtroom. And for somebody who we thought was always going to be a prosecutor, you really impressed me about how zealous you were as a defense attorney. And after my unsuccessful campaign in 2014, I will say that I was discouraged because I learned a lot more about politics than I ever wanted to, because I didn't feel like the judicial process is something that's political. It's supposed to be a fair and impartial process. And I spent much of my campaign educating voters about what judges do and the importance of voting on this particular topic and in state and local elections. And I was particularly inspired to run again by a friend who said, don't quit, don't give up. I came from parents who were raised in the 50s and 60s in segregated Jacksonville, Florida. And they raised me to that. My dad was told that the best he could hope for in his career and his life is to work on the railroad, CSX railroad, or to work at the post office. My mom was told the best she could hope for in her life was to be nothing more than a secretary. My dad spent his entire life selling auto parts. My mom spent much of her life in a clerical role working for the state of Florida, processing applications for Medicare applications for people to stay in the senior citizen group homes. They raised me and my sister to do better and to be better, and let us know that we had bigger dreams and better dreams, and that we could achieve those dreams with hard work and an education. And my mom always stressed, get your education, get your education, get your education, kick butt with your brain. You can do whatever you want to do. And to that end, at a young age, my parents they literally gave me the option. What do you want to do when you grow up? Be a doctor, a lawyer, or a dentist? And I chose to be a lawyer at a young age. And my mom said, okay, we'll see. And so I managed to do that. My sister graduated from UCF, got her English education major. She is a teacher here in Orange County. So we are both basically living the dream that our parents told us that we could live. And I've been inspired and encouraged by people like my parents that we could do better and we could be better.
Awesome. Let's talk about jury trials. How many guys non-jury trials? How many have you guys tried, and talk about any experiences that stick out during those times? Let's start with Marc.
As a civil litigator, my trial numbers are not going to match Donna's. It's just, as Donna will acknowledge, it's a different world. I have personally had at least 5 jury trials that I've either been lead counsel or co-counsel on. I've had dozens of bench trials that I've been both lead counsel and second chair on. Civil cases can take years to get to trial. The process of bringing a civil case to trial is entirely different than a criminal case. And civil trials can take anywhere from a couple of days to one of my jury trials was a 12-man jury trial. It was an eminent domain case. There's only 2 times that you get a 12-man jury, and that's either if they're going to take your life or they're going to take your property. So I've been there in West Palm Beach for a 12-day jury trial in an eminent domain case, and it took years to get that case to trial. And all through that is incredible experience, because in civil trial, you have a lot more motion practice where you spend a lot of time in the courtroom arguing particular motions that advance the case to get it to trial. There's a lot more involvement with the client in a civil case because, again, over that time, there's a lot of time spent with the client, building the case, getting experts, getting it prepared for trial. So I have a lot of trial experience in the civil world. I've not been a prosecutor. I've not been a defense counsel in the criminal realm. I have done a number of civil rights cases, which were kind of spin-offs from criminal matters. I've had a case for excessive force, and I've had a case for it was about First Amendment rights and the right to video with your cell phone camera, police activity. both were fairly high-profile cases in the city of Orlando, both of which changed policy in the city of Orlando. So as far as trial experience goes, it's been pretty much civil and some probate stuff.
Okay. Ms. Donna?
Yeah, I have, as Mark mentioned, I've tried over 135 jury trials as both either or defense attorney, and they have been criminal cases. I have tried, I don't know, 50 or so, probably more than 50 non-jury trials. Some of them have been criminal cases. However, some of them have also been foreclosure trials. I've also done other civil trials, bench trials in that regard. In terms of having to motion practice and having to prepare cases and work with individuals, as a prosecutor, I will say that I spent 4 years, a little over 4 years of my prosecutor experience prosecuting sex crimes and child abuse. And I've also prosecuted and defended homicides. Those cases are also very lengthy. Some murder cases will take 2 or 4 years to get to trial because we've employed expert witnesses, and we've had to work with those expert witnesses and prepare them for trial. One case that I particularly represented my client on as sole counsel in the case was charged with vehicular homicide. And it took us a little over a year, maybe 2 years to get that to trial. I had an accident reconstruction expert, and we had to reconstruct the scene. We had to prepare and go through that. And I was able to come back with a verdict for a misdemeanor reckless driving in that case. I had another case where a client was charged with DUI manslaughter, and again, having to work with an expert and recreate the traffic scene. The jury convicted my client, but then on appeal, the appellate court reversed and said, no, this should have been a misdemeanor DUI, not a DUI manslaughter. And then remanded the case for sentencing, come back and re-sentences, and it still gets messed up. And we had to go back and get another reversal in the same case. And, it's difficult to get a reversal in a case one time, but to get one twice in the same case is almost unheard of. But that was because of the work I did at the trial level. As a prosecutor handling child abuse and sex crimes, I had a couple of high-profile cases, one of which was a teacher who was accused of abusing her autistic students. That was got so far as Washington, D.C. Attorney from Washington, D.C. reached out and contacted me. Court TV wanted to record it, and that case, you can imagine, was difficult because we were dealing with autistic students, children who can't communicate and were not in a position to testify for themselves. So imagine I have to work with the teaching assistants and all kinds of staff and personnel and getting that case organized and ready for trial. That case also took over a year to get ready for trial. So the more complex criminal cases are very involved. There's a lot of motion practice. Death penalty cases, you can imagine, there's a lot of motion practice to the constitutionality of the death penalty, the method in which the death penalty is executed, no pun intended, the aggravators, mitigating factors, and what has to be disclosed and what doesn't have to be disclosed. Are we going to use jury questionnaire? So there's a lot of motion practice that goes into that.
Okay, awesome. All right. I don't know if we touched on this. Are you guys board certified in any area of law? Who wants to go first? I don't know if we touched on that already. Mark?
I am not board certified in anything. No, I'm not.
Okay. Ms. Donna?
I am board certified in criminal trial law, became board certified in 2012, and I am only one of 443 attorneys in the state of Florida that is board certified in criminal trial law.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Audience, listening audience or watching that are viewing right now, you can chime in and ask questions for candidates. However, be mindful they cannot answer certain questions. So certain hot button social issues, please try to stay away from those type of questions as we proceed. What do you believe a judge's job entails, Mark?
It's the fair and impartial dispense of justice. I mean, a judge's job is to listen. A judge's job is to then take the facts that they hear and apply the law, and that's it. They're not to inject their personal feelings, their opinions, any prejudice that they may have. A judge is there to dispense justice equally. That's their job, and to move their docket, and that becomes frustrating for us attorneys. Sometimes it takes far too long for a civil case to get completed. So efficiency and fairness.
Okay, Donna?
I would agree with Mark. I would suggest and maybe use these terms and say the judge's job is to say what the law is, not what the law should be. In other words, the judge don't make law from they follow the law as it's written. The judge's job is to listen to the parties in the case, listen to their testimony and any additional evidence that they put in court. A judge has a job of reading the statutes and reading the case law that is presented to the judge by the parties and not just skimming over it. And a judge must treat the litigants with respect and with courtesy. And a judge should issue, quite frankly, I think a judge must issue timely rulings. I've heard a number of individuals indicate that they've been waiting they've had to wait 5, 6, or 7 months for a court date, and 5, 7, 8, 12 months for a ruling. Those things should not be happening. And the dockets are already backed up. They were backed up before COVID, and now you've got COVID on top of it. A judge has to be able to manage a very large load of cases. And one of the things I would add that's unique about my experience is having been a prosecutor, we had our caseload was 100 to 200 cases at a time that we had to manage and do it effectively and efficiently. And in part, that's where a lot of experience comes into play about properly evaluating the cases and moving them along timely without affecting the efficacy of the case.
So going to that for a second, how would you handle a backlog situation? Are we currently having any issues in 18th Circuit? Mark, do you know of?
Well, in the 18th Circuit, the judges are managing cases by video conference, and whether it be Microsoft Teams, I've had a couple hearings with Microsoft Teams, and they've done some Zoom calls. So they just haven't been able to do evidentiary hearings. There's some judges will do them, but some judges want the evidentiary hearings to be in person, which makes sense to me. We do not have jury trials currently with COVID situations. They don't want to bring in jury pools and that stuff. I think it's suspended till late July, mid-July. So there are some matters that are going forward, criminal matters going forward, but there's going to be a lot of work for the judges once we fully open back up again. So efficiency is going to be very important.
Okay, Donna?
I absolutely agree. There are some hearings going forward, particularly in criminal cases, they're doing bond hearings. In criminal and civil cases, they're doing injunction hearings. Some non-essential hearings, such as pretrial and whatnot, are being telephonically or via Zoom or some kind of virtual format for some of the judges. Not all of the judges are doing that. The bigger issue is that you're not getting evidentiary hearings, you're not getting any jury trial, and that's on both the civil end and on the criminal end.
Okay.
There was already a backlog before COVID, and I anticipated it's going to be even bigger after back to normal.
All right. We do have some kind of audio issues going on with Ms. Donna's feed, but we're going to try to go through it. So besides COVID, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that's facing the court right now, Mr. Marc?
Well, it goes back to that conversation that Justice LaVarga had before us not too long ago, is funding. I know that there's always issues with funding and keeping the staff there and timely. I mean, some of the staff has to leave at 5 o'clock, and if you're in the middle of a jury trial, sometimes those go late. Sometimes they go, if you've got a jury that's convened they haven't entered a ruling yet. I mean, it's not timely being done because we don't have staff there to handle it. So I would say court funding is one of the issues. And then this COVID thing, I don't know how it's going to play out. That's why I'm hopeful that our judges are, again, efficient and can manage the dockets correctly.
Okay. All right, Ms. Donna.
I would agree that funding is an issue, and more particularly with the clerk's office. I know that I've spoken with both clerks of court for both Brevard and in Seminole, and they have lost roughly half of their revenue. And of course, the clerk's office, the clerk of court, they're the ones who process pleadings and filings. They're the ones who make sure that the files are in proper order and get to the judges. And without a properly funded clerk's office, the court system itself is on pins and needles. It's on eggshells. It can crumble. And it is a great concern to hear that half of the revenues for the clerk's office has basically been depleted. And the clerk's office is funded solely off of filing fees and court costs and traffic tickets. They do not receive funding from Tallahassee anymore. That law changed a while back. And so that's one of the issues, on top of the court, the judges and the judicial staff not being properly funded.
Okay, awesome. All right, that's good. So in summing up, give your closing speech. Tell me exactly why you think, and for those who are not aware, Donna and Marc are both on a ticket, and so we are going to have to choose one of these candidates, and they both spoke so eloquently tonight, and it's going to be very hard for me as a individual voter to decide who to vote for. You know, I know you probably watching the audience that you made up your mind based on, you know, who you're going to be voting for, and so kudos to you. But can you give me a closing statement as to why you think you are the best candidate for this seat? Marc.
Yes, thank you. I think there's three things that combine to make me the ideal candidate for circuit judge. My broad legal experience, the matters that I've handled, prepare me to sit on the bench and be prepared to preside over a number of different areas of law without having to spend a bunch of time researching, and I'd be ready to go right away on a broad area of issues. The second is my personal life experiences. I have had a pretty incredible life. I've had the best of times in business and small business and the private sector, and I bring that with me to court. I've experienced tragedy in my life. I lost my brother to mental health issues and substance abuse issues, and I bring that experience to the bench as well. I've been through a divorce, and I am still very good friends with Jennifer, and we are co-parenting very well with my children. I bring that experience to the bench with me as well. So I have a lot that when I'm sitting on the bench, I can relate to the citizens that are sitting in front of me. I've experienced a lot of the same things they have experienced. So, and the last thing I would say is my community involvement. Judges are leaders in our community, and I think people should look to what they do in their community. I've been the president of the Seminole County Bar Association. I've been the president of the Seminole Inns of Court. I am on the board of directors for Habitat for Humanity. I'm on the board of directors for the Legal Aid Society here in Seminole County. I've volunteered with veterans clinics. I volunteered with Seminole County Public School Systems. I love this community, and I want to answer the call to serve this community as a circuit judge.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Ms. Donna?
Thank you. I feel like I'm for because the circuit court is made up of the criminal,
Ms. Donna,
juvenile division.
You're breaking up really badly. Let's hold on a second. Let's try.
Okay.
Go ahead. Try it again. I think you're coming better now. Go ahead.
Testing. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. That's better.
Okay. The reason why I feel like I'm the better choice for this particular seat is, as I mentioned earlier, the circuit court is made up of the criminal division, the civil family division, and the juvenile division. As you know, I have tons of experience in the criminal division. And by far, the criminal division, I think, is the most busy division in the circuit court. The juvenile division has experience in juvenile delinquency and dependency cases, having represented clients in both and tried juvenile dependency trial, juvenile delinquency trials. I even did the guardianship proceeding for my great grand aunt who suffered from dementia. So I've got some experience there. And I have experience in probate proceedings. In civil family, I have the experience I mentioned in civil litigation. I've recovered more than $250,000 for clients in personal injury cases. I have both been a plaintiff and defense attorney in foreclosure cases, which is also handled by the civil division. And in the family division, I was certified by the Florida Supreme Court as a family mediator. And so that means I know how to deal with issues involving child custody, time sharing, the calculation of proper alimony, the calculation of proper child support payments, and all the attenuating issues that go along with a divorce. People who are in love and all of a sudden are in war. I myself have gone through a divorce. I got a divorce 8 years ago. So I understand that. I'm able to relate to all of those issues and to empathize with all of those issues. One thing about the circuit court judge is that it's not stuck in just one division in civil division. Those judges will rotate throughout all of those divisions that I talked about. I have experience in almost all divisions that I talked about. And because I have that experience, I will also be able to hit the ground running in any of those divisions and to handle those cases with that regard. In terms of real world experience and life experience, my parents had me, I started work at 16 years old. I went to the only public college prep school in the East at the time. And I went there knowing that my parents couldn't afford to put me through college. I went there because your senior year of high school was your first year of college. And so to that, I graduated from Stanton College Preparatory School with 24 college credits from advanced placement and got my bachelor's degree in 3 years. In order to get my bachelor's degree, I had a combination of academic scholarships and part-time jobs. I went through law school on partial scholarships and part-time jobs. Even when I started my career here, right out of law school, I started that career as a full-time prosecutor with a second part-time job. People thought I was crazy. I worked for 4 years at AMC movie theaters part-time while also prosecuting cases full-time. And I did that because my starting salary, believe it or not, at the state attorney's office was just over $21,000. I made half that working at the movie theater part-time. I understand the value of hard work. That's what my parents instilled in me. In our community, I was president of the Paul C. Perkins Bar Association. I've been a member of the Seminole County Bar Association and on the board of directors. I am actually the ethics chair for Seminole Ends of Court that Marc is the president of. So I think we both work in the community very well. I've been a teen court volunteer in Orange County and in Seminole County. I've helped to feed the homeless in Orange County and in Seminole County. So I think we both understand the great value in our community and our responsibility to the community. And it's going to really be up to the voters as to which one of us you think is best qualified. But I believe I'm qualified for the reasons I just stated.
Awesome. I thank you guys so much for coming on tonight and sharing your experiences, your personal life, and so the voters can get to know you better. With a judgeship, we cannot go into too much issues. I can only ask so many questions because of I don't want to stray into issues that will harm them in the future in case they do get on the bench and they may have to recuse themselves. And so I was limited to the amount of questions I could ask. But I thank you guys for watching, and I will be having more judicial candidates on the show as time proceeds. Please watch out for that. Next week, we will be having Janice Cripps for Palm Bay City Council Seat 2 on the program on the 23rd, 8 p.m. primetime live event. Please stay tuned for that. And then we have mayoral candidates coming in the coming weeks on July 7th, and again on July 16th. So please stay tuned for that. And again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And please share this stream to your friends, your colleagues, so they can get to know the candidates better. The race for judge is not something that is, you get to see a lot on TV, and this is the best way to get to know these candidates. And often I get into the voting booth and I see a name. That's all I see, but I do not know the individual behind the name. And so I thought the best way to get to know those individuals is to bring them on the show so you guys can also get to know them. So hopefully I fulfill that tonight, and I hope to see you guys in the coming weeks as we continue down this journey of learning about our candidates. Thank you for joining me, and have a blessed night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hats off to entrepreneurs. You bring value to our community by creating jobs and building wealth. Aspire Enterprise of Florida is your premier one-stop resource for strategic business coaching, business trainings, and business services. Our elite team of business professionals have over 30 years of expertise to serve small business owners, not-for-profit organizations, and individuals. Aspire Enterprise, where your needs are our priority.